Hello and welcome. We are at the point now where we are going to try our hand at casting a replacement knob, or a set of replacement knobs for the Stromberg Carlson here. And I was going to 3D print one of these as well, but last night I managed to totally hose my computer, which is probably 15 or 18 years old. I built the whole thing to operate my ham radio shack and do my editing and so on and so forth, but I found out that Windows 10 will no longer have any support come October 2024. And so I went in there to see if there was a chance of upgrading it, and somehow I managed to do something wrong in BIOS, and I've completely hosed my computer. So now I've got to order a complete new computer system because I need a new Windows 11 system anyway. So that's going to set me back quite a few dollars, as well as a good deal of time trying to recreate all the software that was on there. Well, anyway, the CAD program was on there for the 3D printing as well. And while I do have two other computers which will have to be replaced come October next year, none of them are got enough grunt to really do the CAD programming. My laptop I'll be able to get a video up with at least, but that's going to have to go away next October as well. None of them will handle Windows 11. So where are we? Oh, so I'm going to mold this guy. I've got all the molding stuff here. We're going to give this a try. We've got the silicone rubber for the mold. Got a mold release agent, which I've already sprayed on the knob here. But I'm reading the instructions that came with this stuff, and there's all kinds of warnings in there that this stuff might not set up if it gets in contact with sulfur. It gives a list of things, and it says some 3D printed plastics. It doesn't say which ones. Now this is PLA. I believe this stuff's pretty inert. I'm hoping it's inert. If it works, it works. If it doesn't, I'll have to do something else. I thought I was real clever making this little molding jig here, but that was before I read the instructions on the silicone rubber. We'll see how it goes. We'll try it. If it sets up, great. If it doesn't, so be it. Now it admonishes you several times to weigh these two. They're supposed to be equal parts, and they say, you know, they say don't measure it, weigh it, go by weight. So that's what we're going to do. And I've already tested. I threw the knob in here. I poured water in to see how much it took to fill it, and 25 milliliters will bring it right to the top. I'm going to use 30 milliliters, so I've got a little extra for mixing, and when I pour it out, I've got plenty for the mold, but I think 25 milliliters would have been plenty. This is also the first time with this 4K camera. I hope this works out all right, and I'm using a wireless headset microphone to go with it. Of course, I don't know if I'll be able to get the 4K upload with my laptop. I don't think that's got enough grunt either. We'll see how it goes. I may have to go to a lower resolution. So let's get going here. Let's quit yakking and start molding. Turn on my scale and throw that on here, and I'm going to tear that out, and we're back at 0, and I'm going to start by pouring this stuff. Oh, it's got an inner thing in here. Oh, and it's a replaceable one. That's going, okay. Let's see what we've got. There's my 15 milliliters. Yep. I don't want to make a mess, but you know how this stuff goes. Okay, we're just below the 15 milliliter mark. Let's see what that weighs. 15.62 grams. All right, it's the next day, and this appears to be set up perfectly, so it looks like PLA plastic is absolutely fine with this product. Let's see here, how do I stay in frame? Can I zoom? Again, we're starting out with a new camera here. Loosen up the little thumb screw and see if we can get this part to come out of the mold. Oh, released on that side. It's in there pretty good. Actually, oh, came right off. Ah, perfect representation. That's looking good so far. Nice and squishy. So we'll take our knob off of here, off the end of the shaft. I had to put a little piece of tape on there. I filed this thing by hand. It fits some and a little bit too small for these. I think the little spring in there is kind of over compressed. But wow, the inside of this thing looks absolutely perfect. I will say, if my other computer wasn't down, I'd be anxious to do the 3D printed version, because once the work is put into the programming, I would just duplicate 10 of these on the platen or on the build plate, push the button and walk away, and come back in an hour and I'd have 10. I wouldn't have to do them one at a time like I'll have to do in here. They wouldn't, however, have the same surface finish. The surface finish on this is going to be spectacular. It's going to match this exactly. The 3D printed ones will take a little bit of sanding and some spray paint. I think the trade-off is worth it, to be honest, to have, 10 in a row, but this is going to get me out of hot water. I need these to restore the radio. Yeah, let's see here. What do I want to do next? Okay, let me dig up the inserts that are going to be inside of here and the little caps, and we'll get those glued on so that we can pour our our molding compound, the acrylic or resin. We've got the hardener and we've got the resin here. Oh, you can't see that. See, I'm used to working with the other camera, which has had a very different field of view on it. Okay, we've got the resin and the hardener, and I also purchased a set of dyes, color dyes, and they've got one in there called caramel, and that's pretty darn close to caramel, if you ask me. And I actually dropped this on a piece of white paper, and the color match was pretty close, so I've got high hopes that after we've molded these, they'll be very close to the original color. Close enough to pass with a push. So let me get the other parts over here, and we'll get to mixing up some epoxy or some resin. Okay, I think we're set to go here. Now, I probably should have taken a look at the quality of the video and the audio that I started yesterday, but I haven't. I'm going on blind faith that everything's working here. I'm going to use a little CNA and epoxy, or excuse me, and adhere this cup on the little insert like so. And this is to give me plenty of depth for my shaft to go in, because these little Heathkit inserts, even on the Heathkit knobs, the knobs have a deeper pocket to allow the shaft down in. So I'm going to use a little CNA, and we'll glue that on there. Then we'll mix up our resin. And this super glue bottle is a little the worse for wear. Tiny little dot there, tiny little dot there. Doesn't take much of this stuff. In fact, the less you use, the quicker it sets up. We'll put that on there. And I'll just hold that for a few seconds. And hopefully the joint is tight enough that this will set up. Yeah, it's taken. Now I've got a little pocket down in there for my shaft to run into. Not my shaft, the shaft. How's that? Okay, we've mounted that on there. Now that was a real tight fit on there. Okay, and there's more than enough depth in here to take that whole thing in. In reality, it'll be sitting right about here after I pour the resin in. And it's looking pretty well centered. All the way around. So we'll get this up out of the way and start mixing up our resin now. What are the instructions on this? 1:1, crystal clear. 1:1, so basically the same thing. Now it's not going to take anywhere near as much volume of material in here as it did for the cup. So I'll probably use this guy. This has got a little pour spout on it so I can pour it down in there. I'm going to use one of these, and I'm just going to weigh out the two materials. Take our scale here. Now this doesn't call for weighing it out, it just says use a 1:1, but I think this is probably going to be the simplest way to do this. And I'll just eyeball how much I put in here. This will give me room to mix my dye in as well. Alright, we'll drop that on there. And that's 0.73 grams. We'll get rid of that guy. So now it's reading 0. And that's the hardener. We'll start with the resin. And again, this isn't going to take much. I should have a paper towel on hand here. A couple of them actually. We'll set that on a paper towel so that it doesn't stick to the surface of the... And we'll have a paper towel at the ready. And I'm just going to pour a little bit of the resin in here until I think I've got enough. Oops. Okay, there's 6.3. Clean off the bottle. Put the little plug back in. Maybe I'll go a little bit more. Just try to get an even 7 here if I can, and then we'll make it 14. Trouble is the scale is a little slow to respond. There's 6.5. .83. It takes time for the scale to respond. It's slow. We have an apology to make here. This video is all chopped up, and in my defense, I just went online to find out what was going on. I noticed all my video clips were 5 minutes long, and that was it, even though I know I recorded longer than that, and that's why I thought I'd lost some footage. This stupid camera has a setting that cuts it off at 5 minutes because it doesn't, well, it overheats, and 5 minutes it cuts off. Now there's a setting that I've just changed over to what they call high, and it's supposed to let you record longer. How much longer, I don't know. I got a feeling this camera's going back, but that's why this video is such a mess. And again, I apologize, there's nothing about this in the manual whatsoever. I had to do some research online to find this information. This is a Sony ZV-1, so it's probably not the camera you want to buy. Well, don't you know it. Turned the camera on, and I got stupid. And once again, didn't press the record button. So we'll repeat this when I do the second knob. Mixed up my 2 parts of adhesive, made 3 times what I needed. I knew I didn't need much. I figured 7 grams of each, but no, that's way more than I needed. I think 3 or 4 grams of each would have been fine. We had dye that we put in there. This says caramel. I think I carameled it a little too much. It's going to be a little too dark. But we can always put a little paint on there afterwards. Now if I had 2 of these, I could use the rest of this material. Maybe no, I've only got 1 shaft. I could make another one, I guess. Mixed up the 2 parts using the scale. We poured it in the mold, and we've got to give it 40 minutes or so to harden up. So we'll be back. Well, don't you know it, the way my luck runs. I finally RTFM. And this material says mix by volume, not weight, where the other stuff says mix by weight, not volume. I think we're going to be okay, but after RTFM, it's a 40-minute working time, but it's a 24 to 48 hour cure time. So definitely, I think my preferred method in the future is going to be 3D printing. But that's out of the question until I've got a new computer, because my other one's dead. And I haven't even looked into what I'm going to buy to replace it yet. I've got to get online, find out what I can... I want something with a lot of grunt in the processor, a lot of memory, and a ton of USB ports, because that computer gets used for a lot more than just doing videos and email and CAD work. It's used for all my ham radio equipment, as well as well, just about everything else I do over there. But I need 4 monitors as well. I can't stand working on like CAD or video unless I can see still pictures, I can see what I'm working on, I can see my video, and plus information I might have to look up online. Everything's available at my fingertips. If I had room in the shack over there, I would run 6 monitors or even 8, but 4 is all I've really got room for at this point. Okay, enough chattering. I'm just going to let this cure. When you see this again, it'll be tomorrow. Okay, we'll try this again with the microphone turned on. 24 hours into this, I could still squeeze this and it was still somewhat pliable. We're now into this 48 hours and this is very firmly set up. I can mark it with my fingernail if I really bear down on it, but within a couple of minutes that mark seems to disappear. So there's some elasticity to it still, but it's quite rigid at this point. And I've convinced myself this is not the way to go about making knobs. It is just too slow a process. I've got 1 made, I need 2. These are the knobs that came on this that I'm trying to reproduce. Now this is the one that was real dull, and a lot of suggestions on what polishes to use, and I thank you all for that. In fact, I wish I could remember his name right now. One of the polishes suggested comes in 3 grades, and I've worked with it. We used to use it on Lexan. But I decided to go with the clear lacquer route, and I gave this coat of clear lacquer, and it is, I don't know how it looks in the camera, but it came out spectacularly. I can still see the pattern in the bakelite, but it's brought all the luster back and it just looks great. You know, there are some defects in the bakelite at the radio's going on, what, 80 years old at this point, so be it. It looks fantastic. I've got the plastic inset inside here now, and I don't know how that looks in the camera, but I'm real happy with how that dial face came out, and it looks spectacular with the extra cover on the top. So let's see how this came out. I'm going to try to work this out of the mold. It's breaking free quite nicely, it looks like, because the mold is somewhat pliable. And there's the knob. And let's remove it from this shaft. Boy, I don't know if resin got in there. Why don't I use a screwdriver so that sorry about that, people. Didn't mean to crack you with the drawer. I'm going to take a small screwdriver here and pry against the two metal pieces so that I'm not stressing. Yeah, I think some resin might have leaked in. So I'm not stressing the bond between the metal insert and the resin. But boy, that's really on there. Yes, I can see where some resin has gotten in here. Not good. Not good. I guess my seal down below wasn't very good. I can see where resin has flowed in there. That's going to be a problem. The knob looks pretty good, although it's translucent. I can see inside. Coat of paint will fix that if I want to make it look exactly the same color as the other ones. Yeah, boy. There it comes. Come on. You can come off. I know you can do it. This resin did shrink up some, and it's left real sharp points here because the center of it shrunk slightly. But that's not the end of the world. It actually looks pretty good. But again, the process is just way too slow. Now I've got a burr on there. Now I can't pull it through my fixture. Okay, we're learning the hard way. Let me get this thing off of here, off camera, and we'll pick up from there. Okay, I was wrong. It didn't leak through the bottom. Down in the bottom in there, it's perfectly clean. I guess, although I can't see any resin on the surface here, I must have splashed a little or got a little on this thing when I was pouring in there, because it's only around the very top here. There's a very small amount of it. Once I got it out of there, it looks good. There's some bubbles inside the resin itself. I could try casting the next one in like a bell jar and put it under a vacuum. That would alleviate those bubbles, but I think I'm going to be painting these anyway to match the color of the other ones, so that'll cover the bubbles up. At least I have a durable knob that is well and truly now part of the knob, that center insert. And the shape is perfect. The surface texture, the surface finish is real good. But it does have bubbles in the resin. And that was one of the things they said, well, it will, because it dries so slowly, the bubbles will work their way out unless it's a very small part, and this is a small part. But I think that if I was to put this in, like, you know, a vacuum chamber and pull a vacuum on it for at least the first hour while it was curing, I think I could alleviate those bubbles. But it's good enough for what it is. So there's your casting process. I won't bother boring you with a second one. I'll just go ahead and do it, and we'll call this radio finished. I still have to release the video on repairing the thing, and as I'm filming this or videoing this, I still don't have a replacement computer for the one that I managed to Kamagazzo with. But that's due here. What's today? Today's Monday, June 1st, or is it the 2nd? I don't even know what day it is. Today, June 3rd. Today is June 3rd, Monday, so it's supposed to be here this coming weekend. And it's a computer with a lot of grunt. 64 gig of RAM, 8 cores, 16. It'll run 16 processors and 8 cores. So it should handle all the things I wanted to do until I'm in the ground. Hopefully they don't make another change to Windows. It forces me into another computer system. Okay, I'm the radio mechanic. That's what nodcasting is. We won't be able to do anything with the 3D printing until my computer's up and running. That's a good week away. I might publish this using Movie Maker on my laptop in the meantime, just to have something up on the interwebs. Take care, stay healthy. Thanks for stopping by, and hope somebody learned how not to do it from me. See you soon. Bye-bye.